What's up, Bat Fam? Welcome back to the Build a Trader YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be discussing how to set up your trade journal as well as what to include in a trade journal. There are a few ways to keep a trading journal, and that includes your classic notebooks here, pen and paper. There's also digital trading notebooks that you can use, and some are free, such as myfxbook.com. A lot of traders use that. Some people just create their own Excel documents or use their own Word documents, and they include these certain topics that I'm about to share with you now. First, I'm going to explain what a trade journal can do to help improve your trading before we dive in to what goes inside of a trade journal. Essentially, a trade journal just helps you stay accountable and help you recognize repeated mistakes and thought processes and trading mistakes that you keep making. They are only effective if used consistently. If you don't journal consistently or journal every day or do a weekly recap, then it's going to be of absolutely no use to you because you're not going to be even using this to identify mistakes and thought processes and patterns that you are making in order to make adjustments in your trading and overall get better, improve your skill. So with that being said, what are some things to include in a trade journal? Okay, number one, there are a few ways that other people structure their trade journals, but this is what I do. The first thing I cover is what session did I trade? Was it Asian session, London session, New York session? Okay, write that down. Next is what pair, obviously. So you write down USD JPY or NAS 100, whatever pair it is you trade for the day. And then your entry price. If you scaled in, this is going to be a little difficult because you might have multiple entries, so you can either write them all down if you want, that you can do that, or you can write down the range of prices that you entered in, and then after that, you write down your stop loss, and then indicate whether if it was a winning trade, a losing trade, or a break-even trade. So after you write down just that basic information on what the trade was, which direction, was it a winning trade or a losing trade or a break-even trade, you then move on to include your pros, cons, and improvements for the day. What goes in those three categories is very important because this is how you're going to get better. You're going to include and cover, you don't have to include and cover all these topics, but this is the main general idea and focus that you want to be including in your trade journal so you understand what you need to be writing down every day and every week and so on. So depending on whether something is a pro or a con is going to be interchangeable depending on your performance on the day and whether you did something good or not good in terms of trading. So whether you were patient or not patient, if you were patient for the day, that goes into pro. If you weren't patient, that would be obviously a con. Okay? Things you need to include. Was I patient today? Did I wait for my trade setup to come to me or did I force the setup? You write down, I was not patient today. That would be a con. Or pro, I was patient today. Another thing to include would be your thought process, your psychology. Were you nervous during the trade? Did you have a lot of anxiety? Or were you calm? Were you focused and relaxed? Those are things you want to cover, okay? So for example, let's say the trade that you took was a winning trade, but you had some drawdown. All right, so in your pros, cons, and improvements, you can write down, I was not patient in this trade, so I had a little drawdown. So you can write that down in the cons section. However, in the pro section, you can write, I was not nervous in this trade. I was very calm and trusted my analysis despite having a little bit of drawdown. Although I was not patient, next time, and this would go in the improvement section, you would write down next time or tomorrow, or I need to work on being a little more patient because the price actually did come to the level I was waiting for or came to that exact price I set the order at, or whatever the situation is. But everything's all interchangeable, right? So another thing you need to include would be whether you followed your trade plan and stuck to your rules or not. So whether the outcome of the day was win, loss, or break even, you need to include, did you follow your trade plan? So in the pro section, if you did follow your trade plan, you would write, I followed my trade plan today, obviously. And if you didn't, that would be a con. And the improvements would be more disciplined to actually follow my trade plan, right? Now that you're getting kind of the idea of what needs to go in this, what you're writing in these sections is a little more detailed because it's more personal to you, but these are the things you need to cover. An additional topic to include in your trade journal would be whether or not you stuck to your risk management rules or not for the day. Okay, so despite whether, again, if it was a winning, losing, or breaking the trade, in the pro section you would write, yes, I stuck to my risk management rules. If you didn't, it'd be a con. It would be a con because whether or not you won the trade, if you broke your risk management rules, that's not good and that could hurt you it might hurt you, more than likely will hurt you. Later on you might do that, then you might take a little bit of a bigger loss and it might sting, and that'd be a result of doing that same exact thing, breaking your risk management rules. So despite the outcome of the day, you need to write whether or not you stuck to your risk management. If it was a losing day, but you stuck to your risk management, that'd be still a pro, because overall, trading success comes from consistent risk management. And in the improvement section, if you're going to write something for risk management, it would be, I could have managed my risk earlier on this trade. I saw that I was wrong. The candle pattern on the lower time frame showed it was bearish, but I waited till it hit my stop loss. Although I stuck to my risk management rules, I could have taken a smaller loss. So you could write that in the improvements. Or if you didn't stick to your risk management rules and it was still a winning day, you can write down, although I still made money today, I broke my risk management rules, and that also broke my trading plan. So I need to really stick to my discipline and not violate my risk management rules. So that's what you would write in the improvement section. And lastly, you always need to be kind to yourself in your trade journal. You need to criticize yourself constructively. You don't need to be negative. This is what I use my just pen and paper notebook trading journal here. This is actually my very first one. It's all old and beat up, and you know, it's not really a trade journal. It has more notes than anything, but you know, it's a process. Lastly, in your trade journal, all your journal entries need to be positive and constructive, no negativity whatsoever, because that defeats the whole entire purpose. If you are negative to yourself, writing things like, I'm so stupid, that's not constructive to you in any way, and that's only going to hurt your mindset and your psychology, and it's not going to help you improve. Here, I'll actually read you guys 2 sample ones so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, this journal entry is from March 19th, 2020, so this was 2 years ago, and this is when I was struggling a lot still. But this isn't the whole thing, this is just the end of it. But I wrote down risk management, patience, emotional control. These are the 3 biggest keys to trading. Your technical analysis is good enough for you to become profitable. It is a failure of being consistent with the 3 keys of trading. And I've been saying this in my videos: risk management, patience, discipline, which discipline is also emotional control. You would have caught a gigantic long opportunity on EJ had you had patience and emotional control. Lastly, I wrote, do not have doubts in yourself or abilities, but it is okay to feel disappointed or frustrated, which it is. It's okay to feel disappointed and frustrated, but that's what drives you to improvement, as long as you don't give up and you strive to learn and continue and to stay motivated and disciplined. These lessons hurt/sting. It is time to be the winner that you are capable of. And then you sign it at the bottom, alright? So that's my first one. And here is how I write stuff down now in a more calculated, cleaner, and systematic manner. So here's how I started things off. This was on Thursday, May 4th through 5th. Session London, and I also traded in New York. Pairs, USD, JPY, NASDAQ, and Euro USD. Had my entry prices, my stop losses. One was a loss, one was a win, one was a loss, and one was a win. Some of the stuff I wrote down for the pros included that I passed my FOREX fund stage 1. I had reasonable drawdown on all of my positions, and then I also wrote I recovered some small losses on a losing day on my other account, which is fine. Some of the cons that I wrote down for Thursday, I wrote I overtraded on my other account, which resulted in, losses instead of being profitable on the day. I also wrote down I overtraded on the My FOREX Funds account, and it worked out in my favor, which that is a con. You don't want to be overtrading, and I knew I shouldn't have done that. I was only 1% away, $500 away on the 50K account, so I went for it, even though I was up for the day. And you don't want to be overtrading, because in my experience, in the past, each time I've done that, I've hurt myself. When you break your rules, that's a con. You don't want to do that. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm not going to do that, and that's how you learn. That's why you write this stuff down in here. And some of the improvements I wrote down were focus on quality setups, the really good trades, and do not take the poor/questionable setups. I also wrote just wait. Simply just wait. Trust your analysis, trust your understanding, and wait for the confirmation. I also wrote down stop overtrading, and that's essentially everything I wrote down. But in that process, depending on how the day went and everything, see, I've been writing stuff down for a long time, so I don't necessarily need to include every single little tiny detail. But the foundation and overall topics I suggested that you should write down in a trade journal, you should use those as a guide. Not everything needs to be pinpointed and included. Every single thing that needs to be included though is the session, the pairs, your entry, stop loss, win loss, break even, and pros, cons, improvements. What you write down in the pros, cons, improvements is up to you, but you want to cover those topics that I outlined earlier. That's all I have for this video, guys. It's not too long, but it's very important to keep a trade journal. It's going to help you identify certain mistakes that you're making and overall help you improve if you use it consistently. I hope you guys got some value out of this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as follow the Instagrams and join the Telegram and Discord. The link is in the description. Be sure to check that out. They are free, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.